Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
So you?
I just found a lollipop in my pocket. Welcome home, family.
Good morning.
It's your mom and dad. Hello. And I was just blessed by finding a lollipop in my suit jacket pocket.
I mean, yeah, you know, usually people are like, I found money. You're like,
I always found treats.
A sucker.
I was surprised I didn't find a full thing of French fries in my pocket.
Yeah,
That's typically. Have we ever talked about my purse fries?
Of course.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
not on the show.
Oh,
but,
well, yeah,
you know.
that's what I'm referring
Have
to.
we ever talked about the thing we both know
private
very well?
conversation.
I don't know if we've ever talked about your purse fries.
Yeah,
I feel like this is one of, before you say anything, I feel like this is one of those weird things where it sounds insane, but you know a lot of people kind of do similar things.
Oh,
with fries.
100%. But Evan didn't discover it until we were on our honeymoon. So we went to Rome for our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And at one point, you know, I feel like we were doing a good job strolling around, like finding good local restaurants, which every local restaurant is delicious there. But we had one day where we did a quick zip by McDonald's.
Yes.
And then at one point when we were in some of the many historical locations that we went to, all of a sudden, hours after we went to McDonald's, Evan heard me crunching, like, you know, underground. And he's like, what's
Or like
that?
in some catacomb.
And he's like, what's that? And I've pulled out from my purse some French fries that I stored from McDonald's. And Evan is like, how in God's name, like, where did those come from? I'm like, I kept them specifically. I only ate half of them so that I would have purse fries later.
Purse fries.
And I make it a regular thing. I have purse fries all the time. Like,
I mean,
if we go and see one of Ember's plays, if we're at the movies, check it out. I will have purse fries.
Here's where, like, I think it's a good concept. Just having, you know, like
Some
Skittles
snacks.
or something,
Sure.
or like a protein bar or something, right? Like on paper, I get it.
Yeah.
The issue is that fries are so sensitive to like freshness
Sure.
that like 45-minute-old fries are hideous.
Yeah.
They're wet, they're noodly, they're cold. Like, no one's ever been like, oh my God, I have some leftover fries there from an hour ago. You should have some. And someone's like, yes. Like, they're always horrible. So that's why I don't understand the purse fry. Although, if this is a thing, let us know, because we should patent and develop like a holster that you put in the purse. Well, so that there's like a holder.
I agree. Shout out to my purse fryers out there. Let me know. I'm sure there's so many, because I also recently saw like an attachment in a car where you could have your French fries. Like, instead of a phone holder, there's like a fry holder.
Yes.
And I almost got it. I'm gonna need to get that.
That's a vibe.
Yeah,
just right there on the fence.
It's also safe too. You're not like looking down digging for your fries while you're driving. You have your purse fry or your car fries.
Car fries. One small issue though with that design flaw is that if it is connected to the air vent, the air will blow on the fries.
True.
So hopefully that's not the design. We will consult them and figure out. But anyway,
any pointless
purse fry heads
conversation. But I did find
this is what family does.
I did
we talk
find this
about
lollipop. So if at any point during the episode I'm eating this, what appears to be a very old lolly, I'll keep it in my pocket.
At this point, it's good luck.
Yeah, this is an Uber. This is called an Uber lollipop.
Yeah.
For when I'm going out in my suit jacket.
to go.
Anywho, hi family. If my eyes look red, if I appear or sound tired to you, it is truly because I didn't sleep well last night, and I'm not joking. It's because throughout the night I would start to drift off, and then I would be hit by a thought from one of these episodes. Like, I'm not joking. All of a sudden I'd be starting to drift off, and then I'd hear Jimmy go, "You're clingy, Chelsea." And I'd be like, oh, God. Or all of a sudden I'd picture Clay making love to that soup, and I'd be like, oh my God. Or Kenneth on his phone, or, you know, Laura talking about that kind of knockoff Roomba situation, saying like, it's giving serial killer. And I was popping out of sleep. It was almost like these Love is Blind thoughts have become some sort of sleep paralysis demon for me, and it kept me awake all night.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, we're watching 47 hours of this television show.
I did binge it all in one day.
I mean, you're literally doing 5 hours of television in a single day. So it's like, if you're not dreaming about it, it's like, did you even watch?
I couldn't even get to the dream part. It just kept me awake as soon as I was drifting.
It was more of a like,
yeah, it's
it was like
sleep
night
paralysis.
terrors.
Yeah, 100%. I was right on the verge, and then all of a sudden I would just see Jimmy being like, "You're clingy." Just popping out with so many thoughts and feelings.
Babe, this season's insane.
If you're not, I'm assuming you're watching it if you're watching this, but if you're not, you're missing out.
Yeah,
it is horrific. Okay, it's like watching, it's terrible in all the best ways. Like, it is so upsetting, and it is so like stressful, truly stress.
I will say this, it's really, really worth watching this one.
Yeah.
Because it's never been more like hectic meets like anxiety. And I will say that, like, watching this show, although it'll make you anxious, it's the type of like real reality TV that you're like, okay, this is real people in real situations that you personally probably have felt in small versions in your life that will bring on holy shit.
No,
feeling.
Evan was at work watching it while he was at the studio at work because
like I had a minute,
binge,
I was outside and I was just like,
and he's binging it, and all of a sudden it's so intense that I was getting calls throughout the day as he was watching it at work, being like, how did this just happen? Can you believe this happened?
You know, we've watched so much reality TV too that, like, at this point it's like very little like shocks you, it almost feels like. No. This is one of those ones I had to call her and be like, what is happening?
I have to tell you, typically it's the Bachelor, Bachelorette that we cover. Yeah. And of course there's always drama in that. And there's always wild characters. The only thing I will say, at least even specifically, well, it's Love is Blind, but specifically this season, the men, I'll tell you what, God. I feel like watching it, I'm sitting there going, I feel like a mean person because I can't stand so many people.
No,
like, I'm literally watching it just bitching about this person and this person. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like a mean person. But
I mean, I agree with you.
So many people are the worst.
I will be honest with you. Most of the people are like, is like a party from hell. I mean, blessings, but like I would hate to be at this hangout right now. Like, I would have to be drinking so much because it's so awkward and weird, and just people are saying horrible things and weird things, and it's not even like, it's just awkward and like uncomfortable. It's insane.
Absolute hell. And we loved watching every minute of it.
One thing I will say though, and you kind of brought this up, which was this concept of like, we were talking last night and you brought up this concept of like, these people tried out for this, and like they thought that they presented a personality that would be good for, they were like pitching themselves. They reached out to they sent in videos, and like they were this whole thing. Yeah. So I was thinking about, you want to say something about it?
No, I'm just saying I'll never get over the idea of like some people, it's like, yeah, no, I can picture AD, I can picture Chelsea, I can picture Clay, I can picture Amy, certain people, Johnny, auditioning for the show. Like, I can picture it in my mind because the audition process, by the way, for any reality TV show takes so long. Yes. You got to film yourself, pitch yourself, write paragraphs about your love. But the idea of like picturing what a Jimmy or a Jeramey tape to audition for this show looks like, I need to see the tapes. Yeah. Show us the tapes. I can't get over it. Like, I need to see the tapes.
So Please you said that last night, and I was like, yeah, that is crazy, right? Like, people thinking that like this is a good idea for them, or that their personality fits this, or like all these things. But then I thought to myself, what this actually shows is the genius of the casting directors. Enough to know, okay, let's take a Clay who seems to be really good for television. Let's take a
Matthew.
Right? Let's take
disrupt the system.
Right. Let's take some of these people, and they know, but then also we know that the people like Jimmy, Jeramey, they don't know why we know they're good for television.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they think they're it for different reasons than we do. Yeah. And we see the boiling frog. We see the lying in wait, just insanity that's going to be coming if we tap into that side of them, if we trigger them. So I will say, like, I feel like the producers, the casting directors did an incredible job of like, oh, you're perfect. We know how you'll meet with this person, because it created such a awkward scenario.
Yeah, it indeed is the evil genius of
Yes.
producers. That's for sure. Okay, I want to get into this,
Yes.
but before we officially get in, I want to say this. We said it last time, but I want to say it again just as a heads up for everyone, because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody.
Right.
Today we are covering, holy smokes, the second half of episode 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So
Yes.
we are fully caught up on everything that is out now for Love is Blind season 6. So we're going to be covering all of it. So if you haven't seen up to episode 9 and you don't want to spoil anything, tune back into this once you're fully caught up, because we're going to be bouncing all over the place and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But just as a heads up, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, fully caught up. And I believe the way that we're going to go about this too is because we have so much, everything from them going to the DR
Yes.
to then coming back home, meeting the parents, and all the drama that comes from that. I think we're going to go couple by couple, just their full journey, and kind of make our way that way. Obviously, we'll be intertwining, but
we'll
we're
be talking
going to
about
do
it.
couple by couple.
Yeah.
Couple story by couple
Got
storyline. Okay, before we officially dive in, family, gonna take one quick pause here. Listen, this message is sponsored by Greenlight. Any parents out there? Any parents? You all know you're going to have your fair share of big talks with your kids. In fact, the other day, Ember asked me what gravity is. As I attempted to explain that, I realized this is why I'm not a science teacher. Anywho, another one of those big talks will be about money, and Greenlight can help with that. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families. You can send your kids instant money transfers, get real-time notifications of spending, manage chores, and automate allowance. They make it so seamless to set up reoccurring or one-time chores customized to your family's needs and connect them with allowance. Talking about all these household chores is really bringing back memories. I'll be real. I definitely would have been more motivated about those chores if I would have had those funds deposited after I completed the chores. Okay. Also, for real, I feel like it really would have helped me learn how to engage with money, because I struggle with it, to be honest, like the saving and spending of it all and what that really looks like.
True. Meanwhile, your kids build financial literacy and independence by learning to earn, save, and spend wisely. The Greenlight app also comes with an in-app financial literacy game, Level Up, that helps kids build money confidence through videos, bite-sized challenges, mini games, and more. More than 6 million parents and kids use Greenlight to learn how to make responsible financial choices.
Stop putting off the money talk and start putting your kids on the right path. Sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/momdad. That's greenlight.com/momdad to try Greenlight for free. greenlight.com/momdad. Okay, I say that we
Let's
officially
go.
start with my favorite guy, Jimmy and Chelsea.
Oh boy.
You know, Jimmy, let's all be perfectly honest. The second that they got to Punta Cana, the first thing that he did, they got into the hotel and he's like, Chelsea, I have an idea. Listen, we're jet lagged. So my thought is, like, we turn the lights down, we relax. Let's do a movie marathon. I don't know, Megan Fox, maybe. Let's do a Megan Fox movie.
Transformers.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Transformers, maybe Jennifer's Body afterwards. Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, a deep cut.
I was gonna say, I don't know any of these movies.
The OG
Okay.
Megan Fox.
The OG Megan Fox. And then let's just work up to like I know there was a Machine Gun Kelly music video she was in. Let's watch some of that.
Maybe it's a VMA red carpet,
And then I want
moments.
you
I
to
don't know.
justify yourself. Okay? And I want you to tell me, how dare you manipulate me?
I mean, this man immediately saying, imagine this.
Yeah.
You get engaged. The guy tells you right after, I almost left earlier today, by the way. So
Yeah.
you're now kind of panicking. And
Yeah.
then you have your first sit down together in your vacay. And he says, I got a bone to pick with you. That's one of the first things that came out of Jimmy's
Yeah.
mouth. He goes, I got a bone to pick
Yeah.
with you. Apparently, you were squawking behind the scenes in the pods about how I was talking that I was in love with you.
Yeah.
And then Jessica heard it. And because of that, her and I had a really rough time together.
Yeah.
And he gives her the full tale of Jessica. And she's sitting here going, imagine that's how you start off your relationship. Because I'm going to say something. Here's the fact of the matter, family, okay? Is Chelsea driving me a little nuts?
Dude.
Is she driving me a little nuts? Yes. Okay? It's a lot. It's a little nonstop, okay? But can you imagine starting your relationship off on the foot that Jimmy started it off on? Like, Chelsea can tell.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's one of those things where Chelsea is a little high strung, just in general. She's a little like, do you love me? You know,
Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love
am
me?
I
Do you love me?
pretty? Right. She is a little bit like, okay, chill. There is a little bit of like chill out energy going on, right? But it is really hard to know because if you were with someone like Jimmy, it would be nearly impossible not to be that way. So it's really hard to know her baseline.
Like, I would love to see Chelsea with Trevor.
Exactly, because he would make you feel insane. Because you'd be like, do you love me? Are you attracted to me? Because this has been so weird since we got out. Because you're telling me stuff like you constantly tell me. Are you kidding me? I love you so much. I'm so dedicated. You were getting married.
I'm
Everything's
so
fine.
into you.
But in the same way, you're telling me I have a bone to pick. You lied to me. You don't look like Megan Fox. And if you don't remember, after they do the beach date, like when they're about to leave,
Yeah.
she goes, so what's your favorite part of what happened? He goes, I'll tell you my least favorite part. And it's like, I didn't want to know that. So then he says, least favorite part was this. And then he goes, and then she goes, what was your favorite part? He goes, riding the buggies. She's like,
that actually blew my mind.
Like,
because
wait, are the favorite part of meeting me, coming on this vacation, all this connection, having sex, talking, ups and downs, your favorite part was the excursion we did where we probably barely talked because you're driving.
I was going to say, you didn't speak at all.
Yeah, because you're like, and you got producers just setting up where you're going
But then he's justifying it, going like, no, it like brought us together. We had so much fun. It's like, and you know what? That's the thing about Jimmy. He gets ya.
He gets you.
Because there's so many moments watching this whole series of episodes where for a moment I go, okay, he handled that well. Okay, he handled that well. He stayed calm. Okay, does he like her? Because all of a sudden then they're in bed and he's looking at her like this.
Yeah, but he said the best. The one thing I will say about Jimmy that I love, because
That's extreme.
no, I love this about Jimmy, is that he says insane shit that's very memorable. Like,
It's true.
like, and he's really bad at lying. Like in the way of like, he's really bad at like keeping the energy like fine. So what he'll do is he'll like lie, and then burst and say crazy shit.
Correct.
But we begin to see this, and he's impossible to let's just, can we just say this before we even begin? And after, if you've already watched this, you know this. The sense I'm getting is he's not very attracted to her. That's the energy I'm getting. Well, I don't know what it is, but he's definitely, I don't know if it was he thought of Megan Fox in his head. I don't know what it was.
I think if he met, I'm pretty damn convinced of this. This is my theory.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
I've got a lot of passion right now.
Yeah, no.
I'm convinced of this. If Jimmy met Megan,
Yeah.
Megan, where did that come
Who's
from?
Megan? I will say this, we're recording about an hour earlier than we normally do, and I think that hour definitely is messing with our heads.
Way too much.
Richard and Samantha. Like, no one is named that on this shit.
Megan? Megan Fox, that's why. Oh, here
okay.
we go.
There we go.
We're putting the pieces together here.
Well, that's what he was hoping.
Exactly.
He was hoping Megan.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, please, if I met Megan.
Yeah.
If, by the way, that should be his like prize at the end of this is during the
he gets like a just a meet and greet. He's like, no matter what happens, the only thing I want, don't pay me, just give me a meet and greet with Megan and be like, I almost dated you. And they're like, what? She's like, don't worry about it.
There's no way she doesn't know about this, which makes me laugh. You know that she's gotten tagged a billion times.
Sure.
So what makes me giggle is that like she knows about all this lore. Incredible.
You know what she needs to do is send Jimmy like a video, just being like, "Hey, Jimmy."
No. What would be so
Wish it could've
powerful?
worked out
It would
for
be
us.
it would be so powerful if she like sent like a video and was like, I think that Chelsea does look like me. Jimmy, you're an idiot.
Yeah, that
like,
would have been
that would be like,
that would be amazing.
That would be like for the girls.
That would be great.
I mean?
That would be
for
great.
the girls. Okay, but I'm convinced of this. If Jimmy met Chelsea in real life,
yes,
I think he would be into her,
right,
attracted to her.
Right.
Okay. It's because the Megan Fox thing set off all the alarms. We all know he was going to pick Jessica. They were super. They had an intense chemistry.
I really do feel like he would have picked Jess.
I think he would have picked Jess. And like I said before, I think Chelsea would have picked Trevor if Jimmy then wouldn't have played this hard to get. And then she would have been like, feeling all the insecurities rising up. Because clearly we see when we hear more from Chelsea that, again, God bless, I think Chelsea really needs to do a lot of therapy because it seems like she's gone through the fucking ringer. Yeah. Okay. She talks about how all of her exes had cheated on her with their best girlfriends, how guys have been mean to her.
It sounds like she's very reliant on what her friends and significant other like thinks about her, how they're acting, as opposed to kind of like confident in your own world, and then they are just an extension.
I think like Chelsea needs to do a lot of self work, as we all do, but like a lot of self work to learn how wonderful you truly are, Chelsea, and how much you deserve, and not to be then like, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Like, that's my opinion. I don't think she should be on this show right now. Personal opinion, but I think that if he wouldn't have heard Megan Fox, he actually in person probably would have been physically attracted to her. She's a beautiful girl. Yeah. But he's now stuck on Megan Fox and now stuck on Jessica, right? I think that Chelsea actually wouldn't be attracted to Jimmy in real life if she would have met him.
Well, her friend said that he looks nothing like
He's not her type. I think that she definitely should have been with Trevor. I think obviously we see the previews that it looks like she's like, oh, damn, Trevor, he's very much her type. But the irony of this is that I actually think that Jimmy would have been attracted to her. But the whole Megan Fox of it all, he let that ruin it because he then chose the person instead and blah, 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 blah. But I actually think that Chelsea isn't attracted to Jimmy, but because she's attracted to probably parts of who he is and she ended up choosing him. But now all of a sudden he's making her feel really insecure by clearly acting weird. Yeah. That then she is then hooked on Jimmy. Right. But that she actually isn't. These are my theories.
No, so, I love it all. I love it all.
I feel really intense about it.
No,
go ahead.
I agree entirely. I just feel like the Megan Fox thing messed him up. It got in his brain. So like you said, maybe they would be attracted to each other without this. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe all that. We don't know. But what we do know is that he feels like he got sold on something that was wrong. And instead of being able to move past it, he clearly can't. It seems like it's buried in his brain like a worm. Yeah. And it's like it's messed him up. And so because of that, he's doing these things like that are like he's unable to compliment her straight up. So he'll just say weird shit. Like my favorite one is when they're in bed staring at each other night one and he goes, "You have big teeth." That's my favorite. He goes, "What did you notice?" She goes, "What did you notice about me?" And he goes, "You have big square teeth, but in a good way."
He's like, some people take that as an offense.
Some people take that like, wait, so that means you say that to people like regularly? So some people could take that as an offense, but that's actually a good thing. And it's like, dude, all you had to say was you have nice eyes. Or she has blue eyes. Like all you had to say
she has beautiful eyes.
All you had to say was nice eyes. Like all you had to say was nice smile. Whatever it is.
I like your hair.
I like your hair. Big teeth is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like, I don't know what's crazier than that because it's such a weird one and it screams, I'm searching for a compliment and I can't think of one. Like, which is so rude. And so like, it's better to just go like your personality is what I noticed. Like but just say big teeth is so insane. So I'm just saying that guy's full of those things where he can't just kind of get past it and think straight. He just says crazy shit like that.
The man takes some serious swings with some of the things that he says. But here's the thing too. The thing that's so wild watching them together is that he is like, I can't read sometimes what's going on in his brain because like I said, there are moments where I'll look at him and I go, I think he's vibing with her. Yeah. But the second someone else that catches his eye is going to walk into the room, and we saw it a few times. Well, we saw photos that he saw and then an individual. It's like he's gone. He's gone. Like he's the type of guy, if they get married, and this is a horrible thing to say. This is horrible. I feel terrible saying this, but if they get married, like he will cheat. Like that's just to me the energy. And I know we see the preview of Chelsea being like, I know you fucked her. I know you fucked her. Right. Now I have a theory that he didn't. Because we're seeing Chelsea doing a lot of like, you do this and you've said that. That's absolutely wild.
Right.
Like big swings. I don't think he did, but I think he would if given the opportunity.
Yeah. What's that like? What's
That's
that
the
thing
vibe.
is like people cheat to the limit of their opportunity. There's something like that. And so it's like he has that thing of like in the moment, he's just got Chelsea and he's at his house and he's doing this thing. Whether he's whether he's in Dominican Republic, whether he's at the back at the house, whether he's just with Chelsea, they're not hanging out with everyone else yet.
Yes.
So there is this level where he's just like, oh, okay, we'll do this. My thing is
he's all about what's in front of him.
What's in front of him. And my thing is that his attitude does not reflect what he says.
Right.
So he's big, like he'll just say shit like, I love you so much and I'm dedicated to you and you're gonna be my wife and this is incredible. And yet like nothing about his energy and what he says and does says that. So that's where the Chelsea going crazy thing makes sense to me. Because if I was her,
yes,
and someone was telling me how much they loved me, but then nothing about the way they acted or lived did it'd be playing games with your head. You'd be like, am I losing my mind here?
Oh, no. And the thing that's so funny about them is that's the thing that they are simpatico in. These two people are the type of people who, it's like the friends that you have that you know before they came to the party got in a wild fight on the way in the car. The makeup's dripping. They got in a wild fight in the car where they were telling each other that they absolutely hate each other and they literally can't stand each other. And then the second they're in front of a group of friends, they're like, oh, what can we say? Our marriage, it's a gift from the Lord.
Immaculate.
And honestly, what's a fight? And Jimmy's the type of guy who's like, oh, once I find the woman I love, genuinely no other woman's attractive.
Yeah, no one's attractive.
Like, babe, there's no other women. Like, I've never seen, what's porn? Like, that is the Jimmy.
Honestly, Megan Fox is hideous. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
sure, I thought she was cute, but then I met you and I was like, well, I'm not attracted to anyone else ever on the planet ever again.
Yeah, this is my big criticism for Chelsea is the whole like walking up to everyone talking about like how amazing your relationship is.
Oh my gosh.
She said this a bunch. Oh my God, he's an incredible communicator. And then 5 minutes later, it's just like, why don't you communicate to me? You know, talking about how insane the sex is. You know, it's just a little bit like, hey, you don't have to overdo it. Just be honest or don't talk about it. That's another thing that people are capable of too. How about don't dive into the details and be like, we've had our ups and downs, but I really see a potential here. Instead, it's amazing.
But then both of them are like that. Both of them, the second that they're in front of the other people,
they just lie.
They're like, it's crazy. And not only
it's honestly crazy. Our chemistry's crazy. It's
not only do they lie, they like Jimmy's saying shit like, I know for a fact our relationship is the best one on this beach.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's a wild thing to say. First of all, that's wild to say in front of the other couples where you're like, wait, what? Like, so you're just like diminishing our relationship.
It's so insecure.
Cocky. It's the same energy. That energy is the same energy as when Jimmy walked down in front of meeting Chelsea's friends.
Yeah.
And instead of saying like, so it's so nice to meet all of you. Like, how did you guys all first meet?
Yeah.
The first thing he does is he comes down and he goes, it's crazy. My boss just told me I'm irreplaceable. Anyway, nice to meet you.
Mean,
like, what's going on?
Who does that? It's so uncomfortable.
But that's the same energy as meeting up with everyone and going, by the way, not only is our relationship good, it's better than all the rest of yours. It's insane. He's
His dick, he drags his dick on the ground. You know what I mean? And it's like that happened when after they fought on vacation, you know, they fought like they had the whole thing go down at the party. Then they fought like cats and dogs. Then they made up in the morning, and then they go see everyone at the like the next day while they're playing like cornhole and stuff.
Party.
Yeah, and she's literally like, "Girl, the sex is insane. Oh my God, we are electric right now. We could not be going better. Oh my!" And then she's like, she's being all dramatic and like throwing her hands everywhere, and it's like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You hated each other.
You literally hated each other.
Anyway, drives me mental.
It's one of those with both of them doth protest too much.
Yes.
They should get that tattooed on themselves because that's the energy where you're like, anytime you know anyone, and we all know it, you know anyone who's screaming from the rooftops, We never fight. Everything's perfect. There's never all of that.
Lies.
Behind the scenes, it's a nightmare.
Yes.
Okay, a lot more to talk about with Jimmy and Chelsea, but we do have to take another pause. Family, watching this mess exhausted me and also made me super hungry. And when I want to sink my, as Jimmy says, square teeth into something delicious, good for me and easy to prep, you know I grab Daily Harvest, baby. It's been our favorite go-to for years. Overall, when it comes to eating well, it's a total guessing game. Even if something is easy to prep and looks good for me, the label is full of ingredients I'd love to regularly avoid, okay? That's why I love Daily Harvest. They say no to gluten, fillers, seed oils, added sugars, and starches, so all I have to do is say yes to delicious, easy to prep smoothies that never leave me wondering what's really in my food. I mean, it's just amazing.
We love our Daily Harvest. It's incredible. We are always stocked up because we can't get enough
Always
of it.
stocked.
Daily Harvest really takes the guesswork and effort out of cooking because they deliver delicious smoothies and other options that are built on organic fruits and veggies straight to our door. We get delicious smoothies and meals that are ready in minutes without the trouble of shopping, prepping, or the cleanup.
And when it comes to variety, by the way, Daily Harvest is always keeping it exciting. They have tons of great smoothies and other meal options that look so yummy. I never get bored when it comes to meals and snacks. You know, the go-tos for me, obviously, are the mint and cacao smoothie and the cauliflower rice and pesto bowl. I can't get enough. It's so good. But I recently tried their strawberry and goji berry oat bowl and pear and arugula flatbread, and I'm obsessed. It's just so good. It's so good. And by using only recyclable and compostable packaging when possible, Daily Harvest is doing their part to take care of our earth, which helps me limit my waste and feel good. Take the guessing out of eating well and try Daily Harvest for a limited time only. Go to dailyharvest.com/momdad to get $30 off your first box plus free shipping. That's dailyharvest.com/momdad for $30 off your first box and free shipping. dailyharvest.com/momdad. Okay, so we're bouncing all around, obviously, we're talking all of our feelings about Jimmy and Chelsea, but let's just also say this. Before we leave with Jimmy and Chelsea from the Dominican Republic and go back home to some wild stuff, there's also a moment where, speaking of insane things that Jimmy is saying, that Jimmy, when they all get together for the first time, says to Chelsea, who he's known in person for 48 hours, that AD is stacked.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I mean, that's so wild.
Which is so
my
unbelievably, unbelievably rude and not okay to say to your brand new fiance person that you just met. And don't even then get me started then saying that about AD in the position then that you're putting AD in. Don't even get me started about then when we get to the Jeramey and Laura of everything. But then putting AD in that position, I was like, you already know how I felt about Jimmy. And after that, I was like, confirmed.
Yeah. And
confirmed. And granted, he didn't look at AD and say it, but then Chelsea in her insecurities made it a huge thing, then which made it more uncomfortable for AD. So I'm like, Chelsea, I think that's a no-go on your end too, by putting her in this position.
Yeah, Chelsea panicked. And she's like, I either spiral or I'm just going to go, hey, check this out. This weird thing he said. That didn't help.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
God.
But what's crazy is imagine your fiance telling you that his favorite thing about you is your big white teeth, or your big square teeth. Sorry, big square teeth. And then then seeing one of the other girls
and commenting on their body
and being like, whoa. I mean, I don't care. That is insane.
And I'm just going to say this for everybody. Imagine that's one of your first interactions with your new fiance. Can we fast forward to being married for 10 years? What's going to be coming out of this dude's mouth?
Oh my God. And there is a difference too. Like, there's a difference like with Clay and his like crazy honesty. That's like sometimes like so like unreal that you're like, did he actually say that? Is that there's this level where he clearly is like so honest that it's like, oh, maybe that's just how he works. It's just brutal honesty all the time.
Which I have a problem with many of the things that Clay's saying, but he's also honest then about himself too.
He's just kind of like, you're getting the raw material all the time.
Yeah.
Where that is not Jimmy.
No.
Jimmy's always kind of hiding
Jimmy's
behind
like,
the
we
thing.
have the best relationship in
right.
the whole world, and
It's-
I'm more attracted to you than I've ever been attracted to anybody in my whole life, and I love you, and I'll lay down my life for you. And then oh my God.
Jimmy's problem is self-regulation. So he does these things where he's not thinking, he kind of like holds himself back and then he says crazy shit like that. And we'll see more of it later, but it's just like, it's a wild way to start for sure.
And then not only that,
it got so awkward. Then you involved AD. So then she's like aware. It's so weird.
and then not only that, he then goes when he sits down where Chelsea's sitting, and he's like, okay, question for you ladies. You can't answer this, Chelsea. And basically was like, did you guys know right away? And then is flirting with them, being like, oh man, but I wasn't on your guys' list. And he's like, not even, dude, and then we go back to the hotel room.
Yeah.
Clearly Chelsea's a mess,
Yeah, of
which I
course.
would be too. I'd be very upset.
100%.
And this man starts telling her when she's like, you made me uncomfy because you were spinning AD around and you were ignoring me. And Jimmy is looking dead in her eyes and going, I didn't do any of those things. And I was like, roll the tapes.
Yeah, he just denies
She's like,
it.
you're flirting with AD. He's like, that wasn't flirting.
All
And
I
we're
was
like,
doing was gassing up Clay the whole time. Honestly, because he was still flirting with her. Like, it was actually kind of crazy. And he was just like totally flirting with her. And then he gets back to the hotel and he's like, honestly, the whole time I was just gassing up Clay. You know, I was talking to her. I wish you a wholesome marriage with Jesus. Like, he just is so full of it.
and then it's like,
He gets caught all the time saying stupid shit. And then instead of just being honest about it, he always does this like, oh, actually, that didn't really happen. And then he'll go, thanks for working with me.
what I kept thinking about is that because he's thrown out all these comments at the beach party where he's going, we're the best ever. We're the better couple than any other couple here. When they get back to the hotel, he's able to say, the whole time I was just telling everybody how we're the best couple here. And I'm like, that's true. But here's the bottom line. If one day Evan goes and meets someone, starts making out with them, and then during the makeout is going, my wife's the best ever. And then you report back to me, well, but I was telling her that my wife's the best ever. I'm like, yeah, but you were still making out with somebody while you did it.
That's
So,
kind of his move.
That's his modus operandi. Like
We'll
that
see
man,
Jeremy has a similar move. They're very similar in their full of shit vibes.
don't talk about Jeremy.
We'll get to that.
Because the rage that I feel in my bones.
But yeah, it's a lot of like fuck with your head stuff. It's a lot of like make you think that you're crazy for questioning it.
And then
you know?
it transfers direct. Then when they get back home, it's in the conversations like the you're clingy conversation.
Yeah.
And the, well, I think I want to take a breather from your sex anyways. And then the next day when they're having a convo and he goes, actually, what I was saying was, please don't stop initiating. And I'm like, you said the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You said, I want a breather from your sexual advances. And you're like, actually, what I meant is, please don't stop. Like, what?
Well, here's the thing.
Dude,
You know, I'm trying to put myself in his brain so I can understand the process.
Yeah.
And what I really think this comes down to is this. He doesn't want to come across as a bad guy, right? And anyone who's very focused on not being a bad guy actually becomes a worse guy because your actions are not about the person you're with. They're about you. And so...
Wow, that's very powerful. That's true.
Right? So it's like being a good guy is a byproduct of like doing the right thing.
Yeah. Even when it's uncomfortable.
You aren't just being, you aren't just are a good guy. You have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So he just are good guy. You know what I mean? Like he's just trying to be, and he thinks that by like not just leaving her, he's doing the right thing. But what he's doing is he's torturing her by like stringing her along, making her feel crazy because he's like saying things and then not acting. So in my head, I'm going, he's not into her. The Megan Fox thing threw him off, so the attraction isn't there. What's happening now is he's telling her everything's fine, and then he is unable to compliment her, unable to be supportive, doesn't really actually want to spend time with her. Then when she confronts him on it, says stuff like, what do you mean we're not connecting? I bought you your dinner tonight. And then she's going, am I losing my mind? Is that a good thing? You know what I mean? And then she's going, we haven't even like talked or hugged today. And he's like, you're too clingy. And then she's like, last night I watched a show, your favorite show with you,
you're
and
too
banged
clingy.
you.
You're like, I've been with you for
been
a week.
It's been a week. Last night I watched your favorite show and then banged you. And then he's like, yeah, speaking about the banging, can we like mellow that out? Week 1, right?
Yeah.
So she's it's her brain's exploding.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stick by this too. I do think he is into her, but I think,
wow.
but like I don't think a lot. I think enough. Because I think he's the typical guy who whatever is in front of him, he'll take. But if something better presents, quote unquote, in his mind, better presents itself, then he becomes obsessed with that.
I completely agree.
And so I think in Mexico, like when you were saying, when they're alone, it's like, I'm going to try to enjoy this and push out from my mind the whole Megan Fox thing. I'm going to try to work through it.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with him then trying to be a good guy, because I think what he really wants to do is what he 100% did, which is the second he gets his phone, panic violently searches for Jessica. By the way, another moment where, sorry, we're jumping all over. This is just how it's going to be.
But if you watched it, then you kind of know what we're talking about.
But with their sit down, where after her friends came over, and she was tripping out because she's like, hey, you haven't kissed me today. You haven't told me you love me, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, I think it's because you saw the photo of Jessica and now you're, obsessing over it, essentially.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just to add to that, it was the Megan Fox thing initially.
And then he cooled off.
And then he kind of started, and then the Jess photo,
reignited.
The I missed out on this mentality started happening and doubled whatever was happening. So yes, that's what I missed, because I was like, wait, what? Yes, you're absolutely right. It's the Megan to the Jess that just reminded him of like, am I into? It's like, yes. Yes.
And so there's another moment where it's like, lest us not, let this just fly by us without noticing it. He says to Chelsea, Jeramey called me and said, have you seen what Jessica looks like? Yeah. And he says, no, I haven't. And Jeramey's like, dude, you gotta check her out. She looks like a Kardashian. He's like, and then I saw a photo of her. What he's missing in his conversation with Chelsea is what we find out then from Jessica later when she's with Laura, where Jessica says, the day you guys got back, I got a fucking friend request from Jimmy, and I didn't respond to the friend request for 8 hours. So then clearly he panicked, unfriend requested, and then put his profile on private so that she couldn't look at the photos, just like how he couldn't look at her photos. Okay. So that's a key part that you're not including when you are sharing things with Chelsea. Maybe he didn't see a photo of Jessica because he tried to friend her right away and she didn't accept his friend request. Okay.
Yeah, she said it was like 8 hours or something.
Yeah, that she was sitting on it.
Yeah.
And then that she had scoped him clearly because he wasn't private. So she had done the full 411, but maybe he wasn't able to see it yet. But like, we're forgetting to share with Chelsea that, yes, I immediately went home and tried to look up Jessica, which, listen, I get it. I probably would. I would do the curiosity. I would do the same thing.
Even if I was madly in love.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
You still just want to know. I mean, you're still curious. Like, I sat and talked to this person and basically fell in love with that person too. I got to know who they are. I'm
just saying, it makes me go, don't trust, because we're getting caught in some lies here that aren't like blatant, but are what I like to call omissions.
Yes.
Okay, we're sidestepping stuff. And when we're sidestepping stuff a week in, that means a few years into marriage, we're not going to be just sidestepping stuff anymore. We're going to be seriously.
We always got to remember this is a week. You know what I mean? Like, these people are acting like they're 7-year itch.
Correct.
This is 1 week.
1 week, everybody.
If it's this hard, guys, you fought every night. You fought every single night.
He left.
He left one night.
He left. He called her clingy.
Yeah, and left.
After them being together for a week.
Yeah.
Now, again.
We're talking 1 week. You had 4 fights in 1 week. Run for your life. If that ever happens to any of you, do not stick around if you've had 5 fights in 5 nights in your first relationship. It's like, this is insanity.
I also think the producers are trying to torture Chelsea. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot. When I'm watching it, I'm sweating because
it's like Chelsea,
I'm like Chelsea, again, the way that Chelsea did present her frustrations with Jimmy is pretty wild. Yeah. Okay. This is like, I wish that we had a couples therapist on the show to pop in and be like, quick question here.
Yeah. There's a couple things that are really interesting about their whole relationship, just to kind of like encapsulate it. It's like, there's the Megan thing. There's the Jess photo thing. But then there's also the piece of Chelsea talking to Jess about the fact that he said, I love you. And his mind going, you sabotaged my possible relationship with Jess, which then creates even more what's going on. You know, the grass is greener on the other side. So we got photos, Megan Fox thing. We got the I might have ended up with Jess, but you sabotaged it thing. So there's so many elements. And I think that also creates a lot of doubt in her head, going like, did he actually choose me? Did I just sabotage it? Did I sell myself wrong? Like, so there's so much grass is probably green on the other side in his mind, and so much doubt in her mind.
And also, I keep going back to it. Also, I think in her insecure, like, I think that she actually really isn't that attracted to Jimmy.
Yes.
But in the insecurity, when it's like, but he's pulling away from me and it's making me bananas.
Right.
So then I'm going to hold on tighter because it's like, what the hell? Like, I need you to love me. Like, why aren't you loving me?
I don't think
because
she's even
every
that
time
into
she
him.
talks to, it's too much, right? It's huge, which are the friends. He's the best communicator. But then when she's actually sitting down with her real friends, you get the real tea where she's like, yeah, he's been kind of distant and weird. And but the second he's in the room, she's just like, isn't he just a doll? And she's like, that moment, by the way, when they're sitting with all of her friends, something that Chelsea does, she does it in front of her friends and in front of his friends. Yeah. Where like she'll bring up, so many people on this show do this, by the way, in front of like family and friends. They'll be like,
intimate.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy though. Why don't you why don't they tell you what they did to me? Yeah. And you're like, whoa, these people have awkward.
Like almost across the board.
They all hate each other.
And also have no like decorum of like, hey, like this is not the fucking place to just absolutely destroy your significant other. Like, keep that shit. Like, if any of these people did that kind of stuff,
it's already being filmed.
So
at least keep it to that.
It's so rude.
But she then right away is just like, saying to her friends, like,
oh, they all did it to each other,
calling him out about shit.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, no, that's what it was. Excuse me. In that moment, he was like, am I Chelsea's type? Yeah. And he's got that moment where the friends go, oh, hell no, you're not.
Yeah.
Shook.
Yeah.
It rattles him.
That's why he came back.
Because he thinks he's on top.
Yes.
And then he goes, well, did she tell you? Speaking of types, did she tell you what she did to me?
Yeah, did to me. That is the cue to the whole thing. He didn't say, did he tell you? Speaking of types, did he tell, did she tell you guys kind of what she said she was like? No, what she did to me.
I don't know if he knows if he said that exactly, but that's what it felt like the whole time.
I think he did. And I think it was like, she trapped me because look, I was being sold on this and I'm not.
And then the fact that the friends go, she's like, you guys know what people say, who people say I look like. And they go, Carrie Underwood? Family. Apparently, Chelsea is told that she looks like Carrie Underwood or Megan Fox.
Must be nice.
Must be nice to be told that you look like the two most beautiful.
God, I would love someone to walk up to me on the plane and go,
top 10.
Is that Brad? Is that Brad Pitt?
It's like people,
no, I know.
People mix me up. They say I either look Brad Pitt or George Clooney. Like, I mean, it is what it is.
It's the classic duo. I don't get excited, but
Carrie and Megan, two people who look nothing like each other.
Yeah,
it's like, those are the two people I get. I don't know. Everyone between, for me, it's just like, it's either like, well, it's Kim Kardashian or it's Sydney Sweeney. Like, I just think it makes me up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always just like, who am I? Anyway, yeah, it's bad.
But what I was saying is I do think that the producers are also trying to break Chelsea because
big time. I
believe that this whole girlfriend,
his best friends being these two girls,
his besties being these two girls. Now, listen, I do genuinely think that like those two women are very good friends of his.
Of course.
But what I'm guessing is that he's got a big group of friends.
Yeah.
Like 7 people.
Right.
5 of them are dudes. 2 of them are these women. And they said, hey, just have the girls show up, because we know that Chelsea's past is that every guy she's dated has slept with his best girlfriend. Right. And so we're going to just have the friend meetup be like, here are my 2 best friends. Now, maybe they are his 2 best friends. I don't know. Right. They both seemed awesome, by the way. I loved their energy. Cool. But I think that it was a big group.
Well, and it's not a good thing when you're already like doing it to torment on the verge of just losing it and you're so insecure and so in your head about your relationship. And he's like, come meet my 2 girlfriends. It's like, just add it to the pile. You know what I mean? Like, add it to the pile. And it's just, yeah. So they've clearly like, oh my God, she's spiraling. Let's add, fuel to the fire here.
That's the energy that I was getting for sure.
But Jimmy is just, it's all about opportunity for him. I mean, when Jess shows up down the line, when anyone shows up, it's over. He'll say to Chelsea in one side of his mouth, like, oh, we're so in love. And then within the same 30 minutes, just be like, hey, Jess, I love you. Like, and then just play whoever wins. Like, that is
100%. I have a few final thoughts about that with the Jessica piece of it all before we get into Jeramey and Laura. But let's take one more last quick pause. Well, family, God, some of these people are thirsty for screen time, aka Matthew. Man, remember Matthew? This man was thirsty for some screen time and for America to see him. He was thirsty. But family, you don't have to be thirsty. Thanks to Liquid IV. Hey. Oh, look at that. Look at that connection right there. Honestly, though, look at Evan. Look at Evan. You don't have to reinvent yourself for the new year. You can be like, Evan, he didn't reinvent himself. He just rehydrated himself with his hydration journey, and he rehydrated himself with Liquid IV. With 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients for everyday wellness, Liquid IV hydrates 2 times faster than water alone, all in a single sugar-free stick, so you can feel like a hydrated new you. Look, Evan, the man drinks a lot of Liquid IV, to be perfectly honest, and to be this hydrated king. So why don't you just show everyone? Why don't you just make a Liquid IV beverage right here on air? If you're not tuned into YouTube, go ahead and tune in.
This is very, very easy. You take a packet, a delicious packet. You pour it into your 16 ounces of water. Very easy. Boom, boom.
What flavor is this?
This is watermelon, a personal favorite of mine. You mix it up. That's it. Hydration, baby.
How easy is that? It's so easy. Can I have a sip of it, please?
Yes,
Watermelon is one of my most favorite flavors. So easy. And hydrating. I mean, come on now. Also, the convenient packaging makes it so easy to take everywhere and stay hydrated. Okay, I'm talking gym bag, work desk drawer, car glove compartment, purse. Instead of purse fries, you can put your purse Liquid IV.
I have them everywhere.
All the places you can keep these packets. And again, this has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks, no artificial sweeteners and 0 sugar, 8 vitamins and nutrients for everyday wellness, and it's non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. Rehydrate yourself for the new year. Grab your Liquid IV hydration multiplier, sugar-free in bulk nationwide at Costco, or get 20% off your first order when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MOMDAD at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MOMDAD at liquidiv.com.
Delicious.
Okay, so here's a final thought that I had about Jimmy and Chelsea and the drama that we're about to dive into, obviously, in these upcoming episodes, because I feel that it will be intense.
Yes.
When we had the moment with Jessica where she was talking to Laura and she was like, yeah, I saw Jimmy and I was down. Tell me why I felt rage. I felt rage. Not because, listen, Jessica, it is, she has every right to vibe on who she wants to, but I felt rage because that moment where Jessica shut his ass down was such a powerful moment that I was like, no, I don't want Jimmy to have this moment where when he meets Jessica in person, that she's like, oh, I think you're cute and I'd be down. I wanted so badly for her to walk in and be like,
well, I got a new guy. We're all chilling.
A new guy to be like, and also to be like, you think you had a chance with this? Like, just to have this attitude.
It was strange that it was like she shut it down in the pods.
Yes.
And then sees him online and is like reminded of all the connection, is totally willing to leave the door open.
And she thought he was cute.
I was just a little blown away by it. I was like, dang, okay. And it
devastated me. I wanted really badly for Laura to be like, did you see him? And she'd be like, yeah. Not gonna happen. I wanted that
but
to
she
be the
said
reaction.
It doesn't matter what he looked like, which was,
I know, which made me feel, but that made me feel sad because it was like, oh, it was real for her.
Yeah, it was really real.
Where they were really connecting. But I didn't like it because I feel like what's happening is it's just one more situation. This is what I feel like is happening. Men, like Jimmy and Jeramey, I think in real life aren't necessarily fought over. This is the energy I'm getting.
Yeah, no.
But in the pods, they feel like kings
Yeah.
because they're the popular ones that all the women are fighting over. And then they see them in real life and they're like, and they're all so beautiful on top of all of this. And I think their egos are out of control right now.
Absolutely.
Which is why they think they have the audacity to be like, I'm going to check out this other person who I didn't propose to and shut down. And they
this person will just stick around for me. So I'm going to go check this out and they'll still be here if I don't.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh no, this is just going to fuel more ego for Jimmy. Like, I don't know. I'm just feeling a lot of confusion and I don't like it. I don't like it.
So uncomfortable.
But we also see Chelsea talking to Trevor.
Yes.
And I would not hate if Chelsea all of a sudden saw Trevor and then was the one to shut Jimmy's ass down.
Yeah.
Like, what if we have a scenario where Jimmy...
You're saying that Chelsea sees him later, like the next week?
Yes.
Yeah. We see a preview for it.
The preview for it, yeah. And we see her talking to Trevor, and she's like, he's way more my type.
I think that's what she says, too.
What if Chelsea shuts down Jimmy? What if Jimmy... I could see this happening. Jimmy pulling Jessica aside, fishing, being like, you were my number one.
Yes.
But I don't.
Like he's like, I got to play this sensitively.
I got to play it okay. And then her being like, listen, yes, I am attracted to you and I'm interested, but like you chose Chelsea and like, no, it's not going to happen with us.
I'm willing to sacrifice that right now.
And then he goes, no, and then I bet he'll go, well, I wasn't going to change it anyway because I love Chelsea, because his ego won't be willing to say like, no, please. And then he will make himself feel like the good guy for quote unquote shutting it down, even though it wasn't even an option. But then I could see then Chelsea actually going with Trevor and then it being like, well, I'm the good guy.
I'm just alone now.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to make it to the altar.
No. I mean,
we saw a preview of her in a wedding dress, but it could just be her. If they are getting, I'm sorry, like God bless, but like it's just, this is going to be a nightmare. You guys are fighting this much, like a week and a half into your relationship. Bananas.
Should we get into Jeramey and Laura?
Let's talk about my other favorite guy, Jeramey. So there's Jeramey and Laura, which we see them, straight out the gate.
Kind of a weird vibe. Like in the beginning, I was getting major ick from her about him. He was like floating in the pool, acting like a very like young, and she was like cringing the whole time.
What was he doing with that ball?
He was just being like, meh, and like making weird noises and like saying puns and stuff.
Like blowing raspberries onto the ball.
Yeah, it was just very, it was like making fart noises or something.
Throwing himself into the pool and all of his clothes. It was just very like, I brought my little brother to my vacation energy. And so she was just like, okay, like ick. Yes.
So initially I was like, this is not going to work because like this is just not the energy.
She already is the ick queen, and like and Jeramey doesn't hit me as a guy who isn't just riddled with it.
No, 100%. But then it kind of like shifts quickly to like them seemingly not being that way as much. And then but one thing I wanted to say, which was like, what can we get into really quickly? Like they had their issue on the beach, right? With AD.
Okay, and I want to say, like, listen, I'm about to, like, be going off a lot about Jeramey, but that moment on the beach as well with AD, where they talked about, I don't even like to say it, like bean dip. It makes me shudder to, like, say that phrase. But putting, again, now, AD again in this situation, and Laura being the one to tell Jeramey and say, you should do this to AD. Like, I'm off Laura now. Because I'm just like, dude, you encouraging, even when you say, quote unquote, it's joking, to do that to someone non-consensually is not funny. It's not a joke. And then you're putting AD again in this horrible position. And then even after all of this happens, then when AD pulls Laura aside and is like, hey, by the way, not cool. And Laura's just like, you guys are all making it such a big deal and not even an apology.
Like, we're just joking. Everything's fine. Yeah.
My jaw was on the floor. I couldn't even believe it. But then the whole beach situation began. Jeramey was the idiot to say it out loud, which was so inappropriate. But Laura was then the one who told Jeramey to do it in the first place. Right. So she was the instigator and initiator of this. And drunk ass Jeramey then said this. But then it ends up wrapping by Laura being like, it's your fault. He leaves in shame and is like, I'm going home. and cut to the next day where he's the one apologizing to her because she's like, you triggered me because my partners have said embarrassing things in the past. I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
A mess.
It was very weird.
A mess.
But I will say, personally for me,
yeah,
Laura said the thing, right? Which is the offense right away.
Yeah.
And is obviously the problem. But what's more like I'm trying to guess why she said it. Sometimes I'm going, maybe she was insecure about it. Maybe she saw him looking at her and then like did this weird response. You know what I mean? Like almost as a weird defense mechanism to like de-escalate her mind. Who knows? But for him to walk over. So like the weird comment's made, right? Your job as someone who's not saying the weird comment is to like let it fizzle. Don't let the person hear it, right? But to walk straight over to the person, repeat it to them.
Oh, yeah.
To even talk about that. It's like there's multiple levels where it's like, what was the reason? You're either trying to hit on AD or make AD feel super uncomfortable and weird, or simultaneously burning your fiance. Like, it's a very weird move.
Well, and you're also then saying it in front of her fiance who you do have a relationship with.
Right.
Like,
and
no,
so
I mean,
it's a very uncomfortable, weird thing to do, which kind of set off the like, what's this Jeramey guy's vibe? At first, I thought he might just be kind of harmless and silly and kind of young. But then that was the first move where like, something going on with this guy. It's like, I can't really pinpoint yet. You know what I mean? Like there's more layers to his like behavior, and maybe he's a little more calculated than I thought. I don't know. But that kind of started the like, something's up with Jeramey.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was definitely like, yeah, it was one of those things where when I was watching it, I think I was a little more focused on me, like my feeling about Laura.
Yeah.
And then again, the non-apology, because then the next day, Jimmy and Jeramey apologized to AD.
Right.
Which I can't even believe it happened in the first place. But Laura still no apology. So I was kind of fixated on that. And then the next day when Jeramey and Laura are then sitting together on the dock, and it just becomes this whole like, you were embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it was like, he was embarrassing.
Right.
Like, do you know, did you hear what you encouraged someone to do?
Said it.
That was so not okay. And you're like, you're being embarrassing. So I was a little hyper fixated on that specifically. But I hear what you're saying, because at the same time, I'm like, Jeramey, I don't care how drunk you are. The fact that like that came out of your mouth. It was the same thing with Jimmy. Like, I don't care how drunk you are. Like, you said that in front of that person. Like, are you for real? Unbelievable. Like,
but I will say Jeramey's better at manipulation. Well, that's the thing I'm really feeling, is that like you're seeing these two guys that are not being honest about how they feel about their person.
No, Jimmy's not.
And Jimmy is not good. He kind of blurts things out. You know, even the apology, they kind of both apologize, versus Jeramey was very calculated. He goes, there's no excuse. I blew it. Please forgive me. Work with me. He was very good at de-escalating her anger about it. Like, even though he clearly knows feels like he wasn't in the wrong kind of energy. Like, he was all kind of like, it's all her fault, but I'm apologizing he's much better. Like, even how he acted with the family when they had their family moment, and that all that chaos was going on. He was by far more, you know, calculated, calm, not throwing as many daggers. Very like he came across way better. Like, he's much better at like knowing how to behave in turbulent situations.
Listen, I'm about to run the full timeline here, but I'm going to say this. Throughout this season so far, there's been a lot of chit chat about like Clay and his red flags.
Yes.
Because he's talking about, you know, the physicality of it all. And then we hear then in his conversations with AD where he's like, I'm afraid that I'm going to cheat. It seems hard to be with one person. Like, that's going to be a challenge for me. And it's like, oh no, AD, like red flags. And trust me, like, don't get me wrong. I think that it's a conversation that we will have where it's like, okay, he's making it very clear that he's like, oh, this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's been the one that like everyone's been fixating on is like, oh, he might be unfaithful.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, the whole time, Clay's been communicating what his challenges are going to be. Jeramey, on the other hand, where it's so bananas and like blowing my mind, like, oh my God, the manipulation and the deviousness is that timeline wise, we go from him feeling embarrassed and apologizing in the Dominican Republic, then to them coming back home to Charlotte and him handling the situation where they meet her family so well when she's just like,
lobbing absolute
he's in a love
missiles.
triangle. He's in da-da-da-da. And he's handling the situation, even though they are both throwing darts at each other.
Of course.
But he's handling it
Much
well.
better.
He gets a message from Sarah, which this is wild because when we recapped the last time, I was like, we don't need to talk about Sarah Ann because this love triangle was, it wasn't dramatic.
Right.
We just talked about Jeramey and Laura. Turns out this is going to be a dramatic love triangle because he makes a move where he shows Laura immediately, look, Sarah Ann DM'd me and basically said, if you change your mind, I would love to meet you and meet you regardless. Yeah. He said in front of the family, to Laura's family, he said, I thought I did the right thing. As soon as Sarah Ann sent me that DM, I thought, yes, perfect. A way that I can prove to Laura.
The way that I can earn trust.
That I earn trust. He then shows it to Laura. She just sees that he double taps. She's got a problem with that. And he's like, well, I mean, what else am I supposed to do? I can guarantee you this man sent a message after. Obviously, he showed it to her, probably then went back, sent a message, and they were probably going back and forth. But he's like, oh, here's a way that I can lock in her trusting me. There's one way. Another way I can lock in her trusting me is that when I'm out late at night, I'm going to share my location with her.
It's just such a weird thing to do.
But what seems so manipulative about it to me is that it's like he's basically like building a fortress around himself by being like, no, look.
For everything you can bring up, I was
so honest with you. So you have to believe me.
I mean, he's like a really good, this is
it's like truly
it's
manipulative.
like grade A manipulation going, if you think in terms of how do I earn people's trust so that I can fuck them over? I mean, that's literally what he was doing. He's like, I'm going to show her the DM of Sarah because it's much worse for me to be found out about the DM. So I'm going to show it to her.
Yes.
Then that'll get her off my trail.
That's what I'm saying.
So then I'm going to send her my location to just make it look like I'm chilling.
Yeah.
But realistically, because there's no way I'd show my location if I was actually cheating.
Exactly.
So like it's like
and I would never show you the DM, let you take a photo of it.
Yes.
If I was going to be sending her anything.
Yes.
It is truly manipulative.
It's like when you're so honest, how could you be
exactly
a liar?
He's been so sneaky.
And he's just very good. And he's, but she even said, she's like, this house is giving serial killer. You know what I mean? It's like, he's so clean, he's so immaculate that like that, and that doesn't stop at the house. He's calculated clean and calculated. He doesn't make big mistakes.
I would live to see his messages to Jimmy.
Like the text between him and the boys, probably just going, guys, I'm not vibing this. While he's like telling her that he loves her and it's all good. He's going, you guys.
I'm saying even beyond that. I bet like if you saw that,
text
Jimmy
messages between those
and Jeramey between the text messages, I bet Jeremy's just like, he's so calculated that he's probably like, yo, Jimmy, you should try doing this and saying like, I bet he's trying to help Jimmy do the same thing he's doing also to not feel bad. Like he's the only one doing it.
He can go, look at Jimmy, like, isn't that crazy? Like he was probably hoping he would get away with the Sarah thing at first so that he could then say, oh, I heard, it's like, oh, wow, I heard Jimmy's really having second thoughts over there. What do you mean? I haven't heard that. Chelsea thinks it's all good. I don't know. He's been texting me some crazy shit. I'm like, what? So now you're not thinking about me anymore. Like he's thinking in terms of that.
So when Laura sits down with Jimmy at the very end of episode 9, where all of us literally our jaws are on the floor. We thought that we were going to get a Jessica and Jimmy moment. Instead, we got a Laura Jeramey confrontation.
And before you say this, let me be real. Up until this confrontation, Laura had looked, in my opinion, not great at all.
This is what I'm saying.
Did the bean dip thing. Like she's talking about his icks nonstop. Like I will say, like he's not looking perfect, but she's looking by far the problem in the relationship.
No, like I said to you, the first few episodes, I was like, Jeramey is like very much giving me irritation vibes. Like if I knew him IRL, I'd be like, oh my God, Jeramey, stop blowing on the ball, stop throwing yourself in and trying to get attention with
but not
all
like
fully
kind of
enclosed.
Harmless vibes a little bit.
Yeah, I even said, I think in the last episode, I was like, but like good guy, whatever.
Right.
And 100% you're right. Laura, it's been setting her up the whole time to be like, everything that's happened is like she's doing this to a friend of hers.
Yeah, what the hell?
And then even her meeting with Jessica it's a little bit like, oh, but what about Chelsea?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like, what's happening? Like nothing wrong happened, but it's still kind of like, oh man, if I was in that position, I'd be like, Jessica, no, they're
Right,
engaged.
right.
Like, and then the family meeting.
Which was just insane. She just
that was-
absolutely destroyed him the whole time.
Cooked him. And it was just like,
To the point where the parents are
God.
disgusted with her. They're like, God, it's just a Hawaiian shirt. Chill. And she's like, that's disgusting. I asked him what he thought about motorcycles. He goes, I don't know. I'm pretty cool with them. She's like, red flag. If I would meet someone like him in real life, I would have thrown him away. That's what she said. Because of Hawaiian shirts and a motorcycle. If he said, I like both of those things, I would have thrown him away in real life. But these pods, they make it a different environment. You're like, that is crazy.
He goes, yeah, she wakes up in the morning and looks at me and goes, I hate you. And they're both like,
that's like an SNL skit, like going over to like a dinner with people that hate each other. And they're just like, it's like Will Ferrell, I feel like, would do a skit like them. God.
But no, it was getting fully lined up.
Yeah, fully lined up to make her look really bad.
100%. And then, boom.
The absolute huge
She sits
one.
him down and is just like, you were out till 5 a.m. And he's just deadpan. Yep. He's like, well, we were going to go here. And then location changed. And I was at Lost and Found. And I was in the parking lot. Yes, Sarah Ann, I found out she was going to come. And I thought, you know what? At first I was going to turn around. And then I thought,
her.
you know what? I'm not going to let someone I'm going to let her dictate my life.
I'm not going to let her bully me.
So I said, you know what? Fine. And then she came over and she hugged me and I said, what was that? She seems upset. And then I felt like I need to talk to her because it's better for me to talk to her now.
I'm a good guy.
Before the reunion. And I'm doing it for you, Laura, so that at the reunion it's not messy. Like make sure that the loose ends are tied up so it doesn't make us look bad. You know what I'm saying? And then
I slept with her so that I don't have questions.
And then he holds to the fact that he was in the parking lot.
And then
she's like, no. And he's like, I don't feel like I want to answer that question right now.
That was my favorite one. She goes, you were not in the parking lot. Where did you go? And he goes, I prefer to get a lawyer. Like he was like,
he literally was like in court.
will not say that.
He was in court and he's like realizing that he's like sworn under oath. And he's like,
because what he did was
I'm not going to say that right now.
He shared his location with her at like 3 a.m. thinking she's asleep. She won't get it until the next morning.
Little does he know that
she's been awake and she actually followed it.
She's been awake and she has binoculars looking outside their window, waiting for him to come home.
She hired a PI and she's following.
And then the fact that she's like, no, you weren't even there.
Yeah.
You were in what she said, like North Side or something, where Sarah Ann lives.
He really played. He went all in on the lie, really hoping if he sold it that hard that she would bite. She's like, silly.
Hard on the lie.
I just watched your location. You thought I would wake up in the morning to a notification that you had shared your location. Oh, you didn't think I'd pop up and actually watch you for the next 3 hours.
No, it was
I did.
Such a moment of like, I've been following you this whole time. It was very much like, you remember when there were 2 footprints in the sand? Like I was carrying you and then there was one footprint. Like
I was Jesus.
She's like, I was carrying you this whole time. Like you thought you were alone. Like I was there this whole time. So then we get a preview with then at like whatever.
Did not work.
It did not work out. And we get a preview of them with the next episode at a barbecue where Sarah Ann is there and AD's looking at her saying, he didn't pick you, Sarah Ann. And she's like, well, he said to me that he was going to end his relationship or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're going to find out exactly what happened with them. I'm assuming they slept together.
If not, they even if they just made out or something, like clearly
there was either emotional or physical infidelity that went on. Like let's be clear. This wasn't like we're ending conversation. We know that as much.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I'm wondering if this is like, Jeramey is like the Sandoval of the Love is Blind franchise because maybe he thought if I make Laura so unlikable looking that people might be rooting for me
to find true love kind of vibe.
That's my theory.
That's another, he's calculated dude.
Is that I think that he was like, I'm going to go along with her talking wild shit about me in front of my face and be the good guy by letting it roll off my back.
Yes.
And then I'm going to try to secretly see Sarah Ann when there's no cameras around. And then end it with Laura and make it look like a beautiful reunion of me and Sarah Ann, and everybody can't stand Laura. Yeah. So then everyone's cheering me and Sarah Ann on.
Right.
That's what I think his strategy was, and then he got caught. It's
kind of like Johnny, like you kind of look at him and you're like, seems like such a nice guy that if all of a sudden you found out Amy cheated on him, you'd be like, I want Johnny to find someone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He was trying to kind of create that energy, thinking those guys are nice, sweet people.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize.
I also think that he thinks that he's way more charming than he is. I think he thinks he's absolutely gorgeous, stunning,
he thinks
perfect.
He's hot.
I think he thinks that every woman wants him.
Yeah, he's got a big hot ego going on. He's got a big hot ego going on.
He's like, he's like, have you seen my garage? It's only a gym.
Yeah.
I work out 24 hours a day. I'm sexy times. Like you could literally eat food off of every part of my house.
Like, should we get sushis? Because you probably want to eat them off my abs. Like that's his probably energy.
And you could even off my abs or my counter because my counter is also spotless. Never seen a cleaner place in my life.
When she said it's giving serial killer, it was like, she said it looks staged. And I was like, that is kind of weird to go to a house that had no style. Like it was not a stylish home. It was just kind of cold.
Yeah.
It was very cold. Every color was like gray and there was nothing out of place.
But he did not lie about that. The man said he was clean and he was clean to the point that Laura was sweating and she's like, oh, my house is going to look messy.
She's like, every guy I've ever talked to was like, said they were clean. It was not clean. Oh my God. Okay.
But they left us on pins and needles with these two. Absolutely. Okay.
Clay
should we talk?
AD?
Yeah, let's talk Clay and AD. Okay. So after they meet up in the pods, and they get together in the Dominican Republic, we get confirmation because our theory was, he's trying to be like, I'm not going to, be all over her right away to show her that I'm being respectful to her. And confirmation, he actually almost said that word for word in episode 5 or 6, where he's like, I'm trying to be respectful, but damn, she's hot, Right. And so they were definitely, these two were vibing with each other, right? Yes. And the thing about Clay...
He's just doing the like I'm a transformed person in one day thing. He did, because like in the pods, he's like I'm a player. It's who I am. I'm a good guy, but like absolutely, tons of good times. That's who I am.
Yeah.
And then he met AD, and he's like, AD, you changed me.
AD
and so in 24
was my
hours,
Jesus. She was sent from heaven to change me.
So in 24 hours, in Clay's mind, he went from super player to priest.
Yeah.
And so his whole thing is now like, I know, what he's talking like someone who knows they need something, but they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Like if you were like, I'm trying to eat healthier, and you're just like, and you've never eaten healthy in your life.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh yeah.
Like, are you talking about me?
No, but you know what I mean? It's like if you're talking to your person about, oh yeah, I cannot wait to just drink water all day.
Yeah, I can't
Meanwhile,
wait to
your
make
cupboard's
smoothies.
full of Dr. Pepper. Like that's the energy I'm getting from him. Is like he's like I can change overnight. Watch. Mm-hmm. And so he's talking to her, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is great, and I need love, and I need a good woman, and marriage is amazing, and monogamy is incredible." And you can tell he's just like, I don't even know how to talk about this stuff. It's so awkward right now. Like, it's so not me. I don't even know how to talk about this stuff. So he's just like, it's like he's selling it to himself while to her.
100%.
Because then he'll just be honest sometimes, and you're like,
oh, so the thing about, oh God, Clay frustrates me so much because there are so many moments where my heart is full when I watch Clay.
Right.
Like there are so many moments where, again, he's so charismatic and so likable that we talked about that, and there's that. But there's also moments where, for instance, when AD was talking about how she feels like she doesn't deserve love.
Yeah.
And he's like, AD, like, don't worry about your dad. Like your brothers will walk you down the aisle and walk you into love. And like, I got you. There's so many moments where I'm like, oh yes, like this is it. And like, I'm like, I feel like he wants to be the person that he's saying he has become. Like I do feel that, but then he's got to fucking come in and ruin it by being like, you better get right after you have a baby. And I'm screaming, throwing myself off the couch like, Clay, no.
He kind of says things that you're like, she literally says something to the effect of, I don't remember how it's set up, but it was like, you'll love me when I'm old and grow. He's like, no. She's like, what do you mean?
Like, what?
He's like, no, I'm never gonna let you ever get like that. That's the beauty of our relationship, is that I'm gonna be there for you. And she goes like, what do you mean? She's like, oh no, I'll drive you to the gym if that's what it takes. And you're just like, everyone's
no, we
stopped.
can't believe it.
Everyone's
We can't
shocked,
believe it.
But he's like so honest that he doesn't even understand like what the shock is.
He's like, what? And,
he's like, what's the issue?
And she goes, that's not a nice thing to say. And he's like, what do you mean? And
he's like,
what?
no, I'm saying I'm going to support you. I'm going to pick you up every day. You don't even need to drive to the gym. I'll take you.
He said, you got to get right after baby. I was like, every individual who's had a child was like raising up and was like, no, like it was wild.
But you're rarely met with that type of just like, I am not at all not telling you what I think. There is this jarring element, but AD even said it. She's like, there is something about the honesty that's kind of like
she said,
I endear, like I can at least I know what's going on.
She said Clay allows me to see him and then choose whether I will be with him or reject him.
Yeah.
And it's true. So at the end of the day, there is a level of like AD knows who Clay is.
Yes.
The question is, will AD choose to stay with Clay?
And that is their arc so far.
Yes.
Is she's on the fence.
100%.
She's on the fence.
Like AD, I feel like is slowly starting to, I wouldn't say get the ick, but like slowly starting to be like, I don't know. Because she knows. I mean, clearly she knows he's in the bar being like, you got to get right. It's like, oh my God.
Oh my God. When they're talking about one woman.
Oh yeah, and he's like, that's going to be tough.
Insane thing. He goes,
it's gonna be
as
tough.
we're getting closer to marriage, I did want to say this, that it's going to be interesting for me to not cheat on you. So that will be, that'll be something new for me. And I'm a little concerned about it, but I think if we work together, I won't cheat on you. Like, again, it's so honest that you're like, I can't even believe I'm hearing this. But at the same time, do I appreciate this? Like, I would be jarred too if someone was talking to me like this.
And AD, I continue to absolutely adore AD. Like, genuinely, as everyone else in the show is enraging me. Like, AD's just so cool.
Yeah.
She is just so able to hear and be non-reactive.
Oh my, I would have reacted
and
so crazy.
I've said this before recently in one of our Bachelor episodes, but I'm like, I'm very reactive. So watching AD hear him and be like, her eyes get big and she goes, okay.
Wow.
I'm going to explain to you why this is frustrating and where I'm feeling. And I don't feel like we're going to get any swift decisions from AD. And that's why I know we saw a preview in episode 9 for the future episodes and we see them at their wedding.
Right.
I think AD will decide the day of because I think AD is allowing herself to really experience all of it and not make any hasty decisions. And I respect it a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm not going to be reactive to when he says this because I do like these things about him. And I know he's trying, but also all the bells are going off being like, okay, this is someone who like you typically date and you're seeing all these red flags and you're feeling like this probably isn't the person. But I also feel I feel like AD is allowing herself to really get to know Clay before she makes any calls. Now, I bet I'm going to get a ton of heat for this. I don't care.
Okay.
If AD and Clay do get married, I believe I have way more hope in Clay than I have like in Jimmy, I'll say. Like, I know that we're laughing because he, know, he's then saying these outrageous, like, no, okay, shit. But I do feel like he does want to shift.
He wants to, quote, like, change.
I do feel that way. So I think that it'd be really hard and it's going to take like a lot of like he said, the couples therapy that he wants, all this. But I do hold on to hope. That that it can happen. And I do think probably the best situation for Clay is to probably not be on the show right now, be focusing on like all this business that he's got going on and then on himself. Kind of a similar to Chelsea thing, like, hey, take some time for you and therapy for you and processing and growth for you and then hop into the serious relationship and marriage of it all. But I do think that if they do end up getting married, I won't be like, oh no. I want the best for AD because I absolutely love AD and think AD deserves the world.
This. I think AD's like, I think he's just trying to change overnight. And I think it's one of those things that's like, it's not going to happen. I don't think he's like a bad guy at all. I think he's just one of those like where it's like, it's reminding me of some other people in the past where it's like, I'm trying to act like I'm this person that I want to be, but I'm not there yet. Yeah. And so I think for him, he's going to need to kind of go through some life while trying to kind of be this new person before he could commit to a relationship. But workshopping in a new relationship is like almost impossible to pull off. And I think AD's smelling it. She's going, sure. I like you a lot, but it just seems like you need to call me in 2 years.
Oh, no,
you know
for sure.
What I mean?
For sure. And also the thing with AD too is like, I feel like you see her taking notes
Yeah.
mentally, constantly. For instance, when they were sitting together with Clay's mom and sister, and he then had the reaction he had to her saying that like you need to be around more,
Right.
and then the way that he responded to that, instead of her then reacting, there were
She went, oh, okay.
yeah, she goes, oh, okay.
Like there's
And
there's a
and it was
little
like the
click
mental. No, it
into
was
how-
it was a little check mark, and
Yeah.
it's like, but again, she's not making big decisions from it. We're slowly calculating everything.
She's got like a notepad.
Well, as soon
in her
as she
brain.
said, by the way, that she's like, yeah, I'm a manager for the VIP for a nightclub, like the VIP portion. I go, oh, dude, of course. Like, do you know how good you have to be with reading people and like managing a ton of different personalities with that job? That's like top tier people management, right? Because you're dealing with all sorts of personalities that are
Also
drinking, that are
handling
like
chaotic situations.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so that makes total sense to me when she was like, yeah, that's what I do, because I feel like she's just handling it.
She's just always able to keep it right
Yes. Now, one of my most favorite AD moments was, was when they were back in the DR. We're backtracking, and they're sitting together, and Clay is drinking the soup.
there. Oh, yeah.
I was laughing so hard watching her face because the man was making love to the soup. He was
so hungry.
so excited that the soup was there. But it was just like he was there for the soup because she was like, oh yeah, the soup. You know what I mean?
good,
Like, so
yeah.
clearly he's been talking about this soup, you know? It's like his fave. And he was spooning it, and then he was slurping it.
Yeah.
He was doing the full back. And the way that she watched him drink it, she's in dead silence sitting there, just the icks are rising.
The icks are rising. And then my favorite thing he did was he announces things he'll do. So he'll go like, oh, I love this soup. I'm gonna drink some of this soup. And he drinks it. Oh, this soup's so good. Then he goes, I'm gonna watch the ocean now.
He does.
He announces what he's about to do.
Yeah, watching the
He
ocean.
goes, oh
Yep,
yeah, I'm gonna
yep,
kick back
yep.
and watch the ocean now. And she's like, okay. And he's just like, just so you know, I don't really want to talk. So like, I'm gonna announce that I don't want to talk in a way instead of saying I don't want to talk.
I'm gonna watch the ocean.
The ocean. There it goes. There are the waves. It's hilarious.
Now, the one thing I will say, my only AD critique is that she seemed to get the ick when she watched him, after he finished the soup, silently, stack the plates and get everything in order.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, that's a green flag. I appreciate that.
Of his, when he stacked them,
She seemed to be like icked out by that. And I was like, when I see someone do that at a restaurant, I'm always like, oh, green flag. Like,
Yeah, but when the ick builds and their breathing is gross to you.
True.
So clearly she was just, that whole scenario was bothering her, so everything he was doing was bothering her.
But I swear to God, there was something in that soup. It was like a potion.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh, I can't wait for us to live together forever, and like the marriage is going to be amazing. He slurped down that soup, and then he was like, I don't know if I can do this.
You're right. I forgot about that. He literally drinks the whole thing.
It's a potion.
And then he's just like, yeah, I don't know how much longer we're going to last. And she's like, what just happened? She literally goes like, what just happened? It's like anti-love potion. He's like, so great. We're going to have so many kids together. Yeah, I think we should break up. That's what I'm saying. He's also in this stage of like trying to convince himself of these things. You know what I mean? I think he's spiraling, thinking about, am I really only going to hook up with one person now? Do I really not want to give up my single life? Do I really want someone living in my space telling me how, you could tell he's like warring.
Well, and then also too, we find out like he is a busy man.
Right.
Like, I mean, we see his place. He's got a nice spot.
Yeah.
And we're hearing that he's gone all the time.
Yeah.
So like on top of that, then
building a business and a relationship at the same time, difficult.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And then you add in all the other factors for him. And then too, I do have to say, I just want to do a quick side note of this. When they were at his home and he started talking about like the cheating of it all, he then shares that, when he was growing up, his parents were together for a long time, but that his dad was like cheating. And also that he's like, yeah, my dad would like take me on trips when he was like having affairs. And so I feel like there needs to be empathy, especially from the audience, because I'll say this, as someone who comes from a family where their infidelity is involved, like I'll tell you what, like it is something, people process it in different ways. Some people process it by having trust issues. Some people process it by doing it themselves as like a defense mechanism because you're trying to like protect yourself. There's a big complication.
Sure.
There's a lot of complications with that. So, I really appreciated the fact that he was, that he was really honest about that.
Very honest.
And I think there needs to be then, the empathy there for that, where it's like, that's something that you walked through as a kiddo and all of that. But, I mean, to wrap AD and Clay up, I will say this. I think starting in the DR, they were very much into each other.
Yeah.
And the chemistry was hot.
Yeah. And
I feel like the more we're moving forward, I definitely feel like they still have chemistry, but I feel like AD's pulling back, and I feel like Clay is still vibing just as hard, and AD's the one pulling back a little bit.
I agree. I think for him wanting to be this new person, she's the one for him.
Yeah.
I think she's completely on the fence whether like this is a vibe. You know what I mean? She's just kind of like, I don't know.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, like you're this incredible woman, and here's this guy who is super charismatic and handsome and fun and successful and all these things, but like that there's a chance that you're gonna have to like be fixing and is that something that is healthy to take on? Yeah, is that healthy to take on? Do you want that, or do you want to like step into a relationship where you're gonna feel like secure and all of these things? So,
agreed.
I don't know, but
we'll see. It's very 50-50 to me, but it's the writing's not on the wall.
That's the thing about them. Is I feel
they could
like
go all the way, or they could break up tomorrow. I really don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know.
I think they go to the wedding, and I think AD leaves.
I think they're gonna get married.
Okay.
I think they're gonna get married.
All right.
But if anyone's leaving, I think it's AD. Yeah. I don't think Clay's gonna leave.
I agree.
Now, speaking of leaving.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about Brittany and Kenneth.
And Phone Man.
The Phone Man.
I mean, this guy is all time. So, like.
Straight up, you know what? Now that they're done and they've been exposed on Love is Blind and they might start getting some brand deals, I feel like the like Mint Mobile needs to reach out to Kenneth. They need to be
some
like,
phone company.
Phone commercial.
Because that dude, the first thing he said when he got home is not, "I'm so excited to be spending time with Brittany." It's, "My God, I've missed this thing." He goes, "Yeah, sure, it's good. Like this, people talk about how like it's really good to like be away from your phone." No, fuck that. I miss this like a child. And he literally for every rest of it was just this. He literally was like totally crazy. So when they get to the house, he just immediately sits on the couch and gets on his phone. She's cleaning, putting things away, asking, "What side would you like?" He's like, "I don't care."
Okay, but I have to say this though.
But we know it's bullshit because he then blames it on like work. He goes, "Oh, you have a meeting coming up." I'm like,
no. But I have to say this though. Listen. I can be
guilty of it too,
I'm
but
gonna
not
say this
day
right
3 of a relationship.
No. And that was the big difference for me because I will say this. You can be big phone guy because of work. And I felt like, I'm like, okay, Kenneth he's 25 and he's a principal. Think about how much work a principal has and how much like you're putting out fires 24/7. So when he got back to his phone and he was glued to it at first, I was like, oh my God, he just took off 3 weeks from work as a principal in the middle of a school year, I think. And it's like, oh shit, I got a million things I got to handle. Like that's a lot. So I was like, that has to be really overwhelming. And I felt that way actually for everyone. You know what I mean? Like everybody who was like, oh shit, I got a lot of work I got to do. It was like, that would be so overwhelming to come back to. So at first I was like, you know what? He's super busy. But that has to be coupled then with when they were in the DR, when he clearly,
they weren't even talking.
He clearly like was done.
Yeah.
He was done. And we hear later that she's saying like, "I'm not feeling that attraction." And I think that it probably went both ways. But
yes and no, because it's weird because he's doing the same thing that Jimmy and Jeramey did, which is telling you there's nothing wrong and I'm all in.
Yeah.
So like he on the boat is telling her, "I'm fully dedicated to you. I'm obsessed with you. I like you so much." And then not saying a word to her for hours. And the only conversation they ever had was like, "Oh, I like dolphins."
No. Don't blow past that. That wasn't a conversation.
She brought it up.
No, that was pure elation.
Yes. He woke up. He's like,
no, it was dead silence. And she goes, "Dolphins." And he was like, "Dolphins?" And he even said, "Oh, you're going to get me talking now."
Yeah. Yeah. He said, like, "You're going to get me talking now," inferring I'm not talking.
I haven't been talking. And He's like, I got a dolphin keychain. I kissed a dolphin on a nose.
Yeah.
You know, all this
Lot of
stuff.
dolphin
I
love.
was like, damn, Brittany, like when you guys wrapped your relationship, like the biggest mistake you made, Brittany, is that you went straight back to Charlotte and you should have taken Kenneth to SeaWorld and then it would have all been good. By the way, fuck SeaWorld. So that was a joke. Don't go to SeaWorld.
Yeah, no, but
don't go to SeaWorld.
No, what she should have done, walk around the house, go, try to make the noise of a dolphin, and he'd be like, "What's up, babe? I love you so much." We dip you.
I was just so wild to see someone go from no speaking, and I love a dolphin. Or it's like
Yeah.
if you brought up a crow, you know that I'm going to be passionately chatting. But to go from nothing to being like, let me talk about dolphins.
Yeah, I love dolphins and all they
I'm
do.
like, he might love dolphins more than he loves the Lord, and you know.
We all know he very much loves the Lord. But it's also funny because like she would like, yeah, it'd be nice to be touched every once in a while too. He's like, that's crazy. No one's ever told me because I touch them constantly and I'm the most affectionate person ever. And it was like, okay, kind of strange. They get to the house again. Nothing like monumental happens.
But it is mind-blowing how much he's on the phone.
His monumental lack of interest in her is wild. But again, meanwhile saying, well, seems like you have a problem with me.
He's like, I woke you up at 3 in the morning.
So much.
Also,
I care about you so much that I woke you up at 3 to like check in. And she's like, I'm asleep. I got to get up in 2 hours for a meeting. And he's like, well, clearly you're the one with the problem. Like, hey, man, that's
like,
insane.
If you wake someone up out of dead sleep.
Just because it works for you because you were like doing your thing?
Also, if you wake me up out of dead sleep, it takes me about 10 minutes to fully realize what just happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you tap me and try to cuddle me. Like, I'm not going to throw myself into your arms. I don't even know what's happening.
So strange.
I'm just
strange
like
behavior.
half in a dream.
But nothing compares to how strange the behavior was when they broke up.
That was next level. So that was the thing with the phone of it all. When at first I was like, he's super busy. He's got a crazy job. And like I was saying, no shade to you. But when you're busy with work, you can be a phone guy. So
yes, but
like,
we know it's bullshit because he goes, I missed this so much. That's different than I have a lot of work to catch up on. No. I miss this means like I love this thing. There's so many apps and fun things I want to do on it.
But also, like you were saying, we've been together for 19 years. This is
if I go through a period of a lot of phone,
the
it's
first
like
24 hours. And I'll say this too. I'll give everybody 24 hours. When you get home from being on this show,
catching up,
I probably would be like, hey, I need 24 hours for you not to talk to me because I have to call my mom, my dad, my friends, tell them that I'm engaged, first of all, and what happened. And they're all going to be like, I need to talk to you for at least an hour to explain what went down. Then I got to figure out all my work emails and catch up on all this shit. Like there's a lot. But after that, not being engaged at all. And then when someone is essentially telling you, I don't know if this is going to work. And while you're breaking up with them, you're going back and forth from looking at Brittany to looking back to the phone.
Can we talk about this breakup real quick?
Yes.
So she's bawling. Pouring her heart and soul out. I just want this and I want this. And I just feel like you're not really into it. And he goes, no, I'm fully into it. I'm obsessed with you. And all this sounds like your problem. And you're the one who clearly isn't into me. I'm into you. And so if you want to break this off, I totally get it. Can I give you a hug so you know it's all love? Like, it was like his reaction to she's bawling. She's like crying. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm so emotional.
She's like, I'm sorry, but I want to crave you. Like, I really like you, but I want to crave you. I don't want to sleep together, but I want the temptation to at least want to sleep together.
And he sits there and goes, yeah, it's crazy. Well, you clearly want to break up, so all good. Listen, the Lord will give me my path, and I wish you the best. And let's hug, so it's all good. And he basically like fist bumped her. I mean, that's the equivalent.
No,
the equivalent of a fist bump, and then just goes like this.
And goes back.
So he like fist bumps her, basically breaks up fiance. She's bawling, and he just goes back to his phone, and then goes, all right, let me give you a hug. Gives her a hug, goes back to his phone, walks upstairs. And that was it. And then she's like head in hands crying. He literally showed the same amount of emotion as if like someone told him that like there was cheese on the burger when he didn't want cheese. Like it was like, oh, okay. Like that was the level of emotion that he showed. Like, meanwhile saying, oh, I'd marry you tomorrow. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah, no,
it's so confusing.
That was absolutely wild.
And then called someone where you just hear him go, yeah, I'll be over to your house in like an hour.
Yeah, he's like, I think I'm gonna. He's bringing his stuff over.
Yeah, like
and,
literally,
and all
just
I
like
could envision was whatever friend's house he's going over to, him and his friend just sitting on the couch, dead silence, just texting or doing whatever.
Unbelievable. It was pretty wild.
I was shocked. I was really shocked, and
To
clearly,
have nothing happened.
yeah.
To have nothing.
Well,
happen.
clearly he was done. At a certain point, it was like, this isn't gonna work.
No, but he's also the guy saying, I'm in.
I know, but I'm saying
So-
all these guys are saying it, and
he
they're
didn't
all
even
done.
agree with her. He didn't say, I agree. We seem to lost the spark.
Yeah.
We don't seem to have a connection. He disagreed with every one of her points. He said, well, what do you mean? I woke you up to talk to you. I'm fully in. Sounds like you got an issue. Well, I understand if you have an issue. I understand if you want to break up. But he acted like the one who wanted out.
Yeah.
It was one of the most bizarre. It was almost like they were reading. He was reading lines for a breakup scene. He's like, okay, yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, okay, cool.
It was absolutely crazy. And then I remembered too, not that this is an excuse for behavior, but like I was like, oh yeah, he's 25 and she handled it very maturely. She's 24, but I was like, oh yeah, they're young. He's like some 25-year-old who's just like on his phone all the time. I'm like, oh yeah.
I get the phone thing, but the lack of care
yeah.
and emotion regarding his relationship was
jarring.
Wild.
It was jarring. This season's crazy. Like genuinely,
y'all are nuts.
Like this is like I was shocked and awed the entire time. Now the only couple who seems to be cruising, is our final couple, Amy and Johnny.
Yes.
Amy and Johnny are
sweet.
cruising. We have a few moments where we're like, ooh, hiccups. And I
Yeah.
feel like that is purely the show being like, okay, you guys got to argue about something.
We're going to cut you from the show if you don't have something.
Yeah, because you guys are going to be like our only couple it's going to be fully dialed in.
Yes.
Now, the one drama that's happening is that Johnny is absolutely terrified of having a child.
Having a surprise child.
To the point that like condoms are not enough. When they were having this discussion and he was just like, well, you got to get on birth control.
See,
I was like, has the man heard of a condom
I wasn't
before?
sure if that was...
Yes.
I don't like condoms.
And then you're reading my mind because when that discussion went down, all of a sudden I was like, oh no, here it comes. Because I was like, Johnny seemed so sweet. I mean, I will say when he was calling her like dude a couple times, I was like, oh no. But when he sat with Laura and then all of a sudden, which by the way, another moment with Laura, when she sat with Johnny and was just like, I know you guys are just absolutely having so much. It was just weird.
Laura's a little involved in everyone else's
Yes, there's some weird moments where it's a little bit like, what are you doing?
She kind of likes to inject
I was like,
herself.
listen, Laura, I love the tea, I love the drama, but like going up to somebody and like inferring like, I know that you and Amy are absolutely plowing feels a little
Weird.
invasive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when you're going to make comments before where you're like, I run a business. I can't have people see me. And then you're like out here doing what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it's not lining up. But, and I'm no prude. I love talking about sex, but you know the difference.
Yeah.
We all know the difference. We're poking into people's personal lives. But when she asked that and he was like, well, you know, she's not on birth control. And I was like, okay, well, again, are we oversharing here, Johnny? And then he's
Big time.
you know, and then when he was talking to her and he's like, well, are you going to get on birth control? I immediately was like, oh no, is he that dude? Is he that dude who was just like, I refuse
I don't like condoms, get on birth control.
It's like he refused to wear a condom and he'd rather be like, I want you to change up what you're not comfortable with hormonally because I don't want the feeling of a fucking condom.
Yuck.
Like, I was like, oh no. But then when I heard he's too nervous to just use a condom and he'd be down to consider a vasectomy, I was like, okay. So the man is terrified of having a surprise child, which
is understandable.
It's a big thing.
Especially if you just met this person a week ago.
Yes.
It's like, yo, I'm not trying to raise a child with you. I just met you.
And he's talking about his background and what he wants to be able to provide for a family. But the problem is that it's put a pause on any sort of intimacy. And so Amy's a little bit like, we got to figure this out before I say I do.
Sure.
Because like, I want to be able to know.
And the longer you wait, the more pressure it builds, and the more of a thing it becomes.
That's the only thing that I feel like might stop them from getting married.
Like hook up quick, because the more you wait, the more pressure there is.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know, there are other forms of intimacy.
Yeah.
But, you know, it seems like, and understandably so, Amy's like, okay.
Like, wear a condom once or twice.
But he's too scared.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I was like, can you triple up? Is there a way to like put like
Wear a bag.
multiple
Yeah, I don't know.
multiple condoms?
I don't know. That is interesting.
But that's really their only hiccup. But that is the one thing that I could actually see stopping them from getting married if they don't ever have sex. And it's like, well, I don't want to fully commit to before we do, or they're rushed to have it and there's a lot of pressure and then it's awkward because everyone is like
waiting.
Yeah, it's building, So that's the only hiccup with them. Other than that, this couple
They're cruising. They seem really dialed. The family loved her, and her family was like, can I please move in?
His family was like three Johnnies walked
awesome.
in, pulsating positive energy.
So funny.
I think maybe like my most favorite fam we've ever met on this show.
100%.
I was obsessed with them.
On any show.
Yeah. I'm like, they were so
awesome.
charming. They were rooting for him. They were rooting for her when they were like, Johnny, you deserve good things and this is a good thing. And I was like, okay, now
And then
I'm
the one sister's
crying.
like, I guess love is blind. Like they had lines, like they were hilarious.
And talk about a warm hug for Amy. And you know what I was thinking about? I don't know why this is going to make me emotional. Here we go. But like when she shared about how she never had friends growing up and how, her brother is her best friend. But there's then also like the feeling for her of like the pressure of being like, okay, well, if something happens to my parents, like I will be my brother's caretaker. Like imagine meeting Johnny's family and being like, this is the type of family that number one, I got my best friends. Those sisters are going to be your besties that you've always wanted. And then also that type of family, if like she needs help in any way, like, or her brother with like the caretaking end, they will rally around and this will be like a family effort. Like there will be family love.
Big time.
And I felt for her, like I was pretty overcome by emotion being like, wow, this has to feel so amazing for her. And she is such a special person. When they went into her bedroom at her place, hers was the one place that stood out to me because they walked in her bedroom. She had pink everywhere, a acoustic guitar, and then like little crowns, and like it looked like this it looked like a teenage girl's bedroom. It was so sweet. Seriously. And she's just so lovable.
She deserves to have like sisters-in-law like that.
Yes. I'm like, I want that so badly for Amy.
Yes.
Like she's such a gem of a human. And so it made my heart so warm. I know the one other thing is she's like, I need my father's blessing. We got a tease of a preview that it looks like.
Who knows if it's not?
I think that it's editing. I bet that dad gives a blessing. And I think that they will be for sure our one couple that will, I do believe that they're going to work.
Yes.
And that they'll get married and that they'll be our couple who has had a great marriage over the time since they got married. I think that unless the sex thing comes up, other than that, I don't know. I don't foresee anything happening. But they're just absolutely so sweet and so cute together. And I don't know.
I agree.
I love their energy.
I agree.
Woo. Well, family, sorry if none of that made sense as we're mushing it all together. I'm like,
but if you're watching, it makes sense.
This wasn't so much a recap of events as it was all of our thoughts after binging all these episodes.
This one was just like if you came over, you had watched the show, you came over, and we were just talking.
Yeah, and we just dumped on you afterwards.
This was one of the most least professional ones we've done.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
But this is a family. Your mom and dad, you come over, we're just talking shit, we're having a good time, we're talking about the show. Oh my God, that one time, we'll just totally that one thing. That's how we did it. So.
Well, we love you all. Okay, so I believe schedule coming up here is tune in next week because we have a Bachelor Joey episode dropping on Wednesday. We will not have a second episode of the week next week. We will have one the following week.
Back to 1 and 2.
So then we'll tune in next week. Tune in 2 weeks for like all of the Love is Blind episodes from us. We'll keep you updated and give you specific dates and all of that. But yeah, we love you all. Have a beautiful weekend. We got to go because our kiddo is in a play and we're so excited. We got rehearsal. We got the final rehearsal. All right, I love you all. Bye.